We are Adventuresome Reviews. Today we are reviewing Massachusetts by Warren Dean. So, my current modus operandi is I don't actually ever read the synopses, because I'm going to read the books anyway, so what's the point? So the first, about a chapter into this
He was rather surprised by our equine protagonist.
And I threw a bit of I'm going to call it a hissy fit just because it's way overblows it. But yes. Luckily, I was quickly proved wrong. And quite entertained by this book.
For me, the horse racing elements was the more enjoyable one of the most enjoyable aspects of it, because it seemed to speak with a lot of authority on the subject. The author did it.
Yes, but I also think we're getting a little ahead of ourselves since we haven't even read the synopsis.
You're the one who started discussing first, so I was like, okay, he's going rogue.
Well, I will have to skip your tyranny somehow. So the synopsis is as follows. A horse, a race, a deadly challenge. Very swanky. Bit melodramatic because of how I read it, but, you know, what's not to have fun about that? What happened to Massachusetts was a crying shame. When Massachusetts qualified to run in the Kentucky Derby, he had no notion that he would soon be competing with riders of the 7th plane in a very different kind of race. And when a brash young rider makes an ill-considered wager, the fate of a world hangs in the balance. The stakes couldn't be higher. Although I find that a tad melodramatic, but there's not much you can do about it.
Well, at the same time, it actually kind of fits because the writer bets the planet Earth on the outcome.
Yeah.
So yes, it's
accurate, and a quick way to draw interest in the book. It doesn't change the fact that it's melodramatic, though. Yeah. And it's like the book's only
it is a short book,
so there's not much else to talk about other than the fate of the world being hung in the balance. Still,
I feel like that's not entirely accurate.
Okay. The fate of the world is still the only major thing that's worth discussing in the synopsis. Everything else is details and doesn't really...
In the synopsis, I'll give you, because that was the entirety of the synopsis, is the world. It hangs in the balance, and there's a horse race.
Yeah, so it completely describes the plot to you without telling you anything about the plot, or any minutia detail about the plot.
The main story is that Massachusetts, who is a star horse, gets kidnapped or horse-snapped from the middle of a race and taken to a quantum realm where he must race against a variety of other monsters and creatures and riders from all across the known hemispheres, and for our information, Earth resides in the unknown hemispheres for some reason.
Which is, a very cool detail and whatnot. And as soon as Massachusetts gets captured, that's when the book kicks into high gear, per se, and it really just becomes thoroughly enjoyable. There's a lot of imagination, and nothing is left to be cliched.
There's a lot of imaginations within the various species and races and mounts that take place. I didn't find the actual race environment that interesting. It was basically just...
The giant desert was alright.
It's a giant desert that...
With blue flames that go...
It's not that interesting.
I don't know. It's kind of interesting. It's like, you could either have a desert, or you could have a desert with landmines. I mean, that goes pretty far to making the desert interesting.
Only one person gets blown up. Maybe two.
Okay, so that is a bit disappointing, but there's plenty of other bloodshed in the book, so not to worry.
But besides the blue deserts, they go up a rocky hill, and then go down a rocky hill, go underground. The environment itself is strictly a desert, and the only interesting element about the environment was that it had blue fire geysers at the start.
Okay, so in general, the environment well, I'm not gonna say it leaves anything to be desired because it's a short book, so
it suffices, but what it does, it's
I agree with what he did with the environment because it's a short book. You do not want to get bogged down with describing this incredibly nuanced or I'm gonna say original environment. The environment is there to test the writers, and that's what it does.
for me. I just wanted a little bit more from a
Alien world.
alien world out of time and reality than desert with blue fire.
I think you just need to curb your expectations. Aliens aren't as weird as you think they are. I would know. Okay, that was going on a little. That stare off was going on a little too long.
It never goes on too long.
I see.
The environment aside, my main qualm, and it's a very minor qualm because it's not unpleasant in of itself, is that the characters for the most part lacked real depth. And that might be a symptom of the book's brevity or of the fact that one of our protagonists is a horse and we don't actually look through the horse's eyes at all or hear its thoughts. But the protagonists, for the most part, never get below surface level depth for complexity or emotion or.
I think once again, I think you need to curb your expectations. Because personally,
It doesn't matter if I have expectations about them or not, or if the book is long or if the book is short. The characters aren't engaging because they don't have real depth. They're just there running the race, and they never really give the reader a chance or a reason to latch onto them besides, hey, I'm the protagonist, root for me.
I actually disagree. I feel the writer, not the horse, the writer, actually, considering how much screen time he had, he was only in for about half the book, give or take a little. And sure, he's not, layers upon layers, chocolate mousse cake thing, but I found him more agreeable than the main character from Sunwielder. And it might be because Sunwielder had an entire book per se, and this character had 5 chapters. He still hit good points for me because, obviously in the synopsis he makes a rash bet, so he's a bit hot-headed. Not an incredibly interesting character trait, but at the same time, in the next chapters he quickly realizes that was a stupid decision to make.
Ergo, walking back the whole any emotional or character level from making the bet in the first place.
I don't know. And he takes on, I'm gonna say obligation, but that's not it. He takes on responsibility for the horse and the situation he brought the horse into. So at the end of the book, he's showing remorse for bringing this horse into someplace that really shouldn't be. And it's not terribly overt or terribly overblown. It's just, I found the character better than I anticipated, per se. Now, unlike him,
like I said, it's not unpleasant. It wasn't like a negative mark. It's just I didn't really grow attached to either of the characters, and I found them fairly superficial. That was it.
I find them slightly less superficial, but well, once again, they did not prove detrimental to the story. Now, unlike my erstwhile brother over there,
I don't think you know what that means if you're using it there.
It don't matter. I just needed something to call you on quick call. I have more complaints with the story. Because as I said earlier, after the horse gets taken, that's when the book kicks in overdrive. Or not overdrive, but that's when I really started enjoying the book. Before that, however, it was painful for me.
It's more about horse racing, the first quarter of the book.
No, it's not even the horse racing. It's the first 3 chapters, and the book is 7 chapters long. the first 3 chapters is about the horse growing up, which is fine. But you introduce... The entire first chapter is about the history and backstory of the guy who's narrating the Kentucky Derby, which is like, I care nothing at all for you.
I'll give you that one. That's it.
So, in my opinion, cut off the entire first chapter. The entire first chapter basically was
irrelevant to the book.
Apart from the last paragraph, which basically is a glimpse into the future of that something happened to Massachusetts. That's it. And then the next 2 chapters, you see Massachusetts growing up, and I'm fine with Massachusetts growing up. It's interesting. You get into a little bit of the horse's character. You see that he's playful, but runny, or not runny, but he likes racing. Okay. But you also spend time getting to know the horse's trainer, the guy who owns the horse, and the daughter of the guy who owns the horse, who the horse's trainer has a crush on. So you spend a little bit of more than a little bit of time, like half the chapters, around these characters, and they never show up again.
I disagree, because for me that was all about building the environment of the horse racing, especially the trainer and the person who owned the horse, Massachusetts. That was one of the parts I really enjoyed about the book, was getting a glimpse into the whole aspect of horse racing.
But that's not what the book is about. The main meat of the book is about a horse getting space snapped and taken to this incredibly dangerous race in outer realms and all high fantasy, or not high fantasy, but it's just incredibly fantastic realms. It's not about the Kentucky Derby or that thing. It's like, so that did not affect the story in all this information, and it's like, yes, it needs to be there to show the horse's upbringing, the training, and all that.
I do think there's some value in showing both the human racing side and then the alien race. I do think there's value in the juxtaposition there.
And I agree. I just don't feel there was any point to exploring 3 characters that don't show up ever again, apart from a single paragraph in the last chapter. And then, so, my next major problem with the story is the bed itself. So this is what happens, right? And I don't think it's a spoiler because it's
way early on and well part of the story, so I will allow it.
Thank you, old spoiler in chief. Or wait, y'all get the point. This random person joins this big ass fancy race. You know, the race of all the galaxy. Ooh.
He's not quite round. He's raced in it 8-9 times now.
Yeah, but it's not a qualification race. You don't have to do anything to qualify. You just like, hey, I want to race, and you go, okay, you can race. So it's not hard to enter, right? So for all we know, he could be an absolute nobody, could come into the race and do the exact same thing as the main character, right? So then this main character gets into a bit of a tiff with the main antagonist for the book.
And they're rivals. They have been for a while. The main antagonist is a cheater. You basically know all the shenanigans that come from that scenario.
And out of nowhere, the main character, who's this absolute nobody, says, I bet the entire Earth that I can beat you. And the other guy's, sure. And whoever bets this planet and loses, that planet will get destroyed. 1, they are not in possession of that planet. 2, they have no right to destroy that planet.
No, they say that the gamekeepers will maintain any bets made.
You're betting a stranger's house.
They're
and then you're having the arbiters of the race destroy that stranger's house.
Plus, I believe it was the antagonist that made the bet, or that initiated the bet.
It don't matter. They're not really. You're supposed to bet something you own.
Why bet something you can own when you can bet something somebody else owns? It's a win-win.
Exactly. There's no real. completely neuters half the point of a bet. So basically, all it does is link into the reader's sense of home with Earth. That's all it. That's all that happens. And
No, I disagree. Because it plays into the morality of our protagonist. Because he has to race to win so the Earth doesn't get destroyed. That part of the bet makes viable sense.
no,
So
that doesn't make sense. It works and it benefits the story, which I agree. Which is, well, I'm not actually going to deduct any points off the bet.
And even the reason he makes the bet makes sense because he's antagonistic with.
I don't care about the. I don't care about the bet being made. I care about the stakes. That's it. You.
The only problem I had with the bet is that our protagonist stood to win nothing from it. It's like, oh, you can destroy another planet. Yay!
Neither one really stands to gain or lose anything, which is like, what's the point of this bet? The main character isn't even particularly attached to the Earth, but that's actually but throughout the story, he actually grows attached to the Earth and becomes a defender of it, largely because of his interactions with Massachusetts, aka the horse. So while the bet is beneficial to the story, it's just, you really shouldn't be betting things you don't own.
Mr. Morality over here.
Well, someone has to be. What?
That's mostly it for my comments.
Mine too. The writing was solid.
It kind of.
I didn't find the writing too.
I didn't find it
detrimental.
Unpleasant. It wasn't necessarily amazing anywhere.
But let's face it, a lot of writing across all books is just not amazing. It just doesn't suck. It's not amazing, which is perfectly fine.
You say like being part is something that should be cheered.
No, I simply think it's not something to be derided.
I'm not deriding it. I am parring it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying this is not a plus.
I agree. It's not detriment though, which is all I was saying. So we agree. From kind of opposite sides of the spectrum. I'm going to give the book 4 stars.
I would have bopped around more 3.5.
Yeah, but he's a villain, so. I said a villain, not a dinosaur!
They're the same thing.
I disagree wholeheartedly.
You're not allowed to do that. Toodaloos! I'm gone. I'm out. I'm disappearing.
Fare thee well, our future friend.